Am I the a-hole for telling my nephew the truth that no one in the family likes him? This involves me, 25 male, my sister Diana, 31 female, and her son Darius, 10 male. I get along with my sister Diana fine, but I won't pretend I like Darius. I think he's an entitled brat who has gotten away with crap for too many times. I don't think Diana's ever reprimanded him, and every time the little turd acts up, Diana makes excuses for him. He's already been suspended from school for stealing. He's a bully to all his cousins, and I know for a fact no one in my family likes him at all. Both of my parents cannot stand him. My mother, a woman who could find a love in her heart to babysit a honey badger, refuses to watch Darius at all because of his behavior. My father will take all of the grandkids out to fish every few months except for Darius, because he's too tempted to throw him out into the lake and drive off. His words, not mine. On Monday, I got a call from my sister who panicked because she got called into work. Darius was out of school and her babysitter was not available. No one else in the family will watch Darius, so I told her to drop him off and I would watch him. It was a nightmare. Darius was mad he had to spend his day off at my place. He refused to do anything I offered, made a mess in my bathroom, harassed my dog, and had a tantrum because I would not let him use my work computer to play games. By lunchtime, I was frustrated beyond all belief. I made him mac and cheese and he demanded I take him to Wendy's. He refused to eat and eventually dumped his bowl of food on my floor. At that, I just kinda lost it. I didn't yell or get aggressive at all. I just sighed and asked him if he realized that everyone in the family literally despised him. I explained that he was at my house because Grandma and Grandpa cannot stand him, and in fact refused to let him come to their house because he acts like a little turd. I won't lie, I got pretty brutal. He started crying and locked himself in my bathroom until I came out and sat and watched TV till my sister came and got him. I told her what happened, and I and her got into a massive argument as well. She called me cruel and I told her that she is to blame, and he would have learned eventually. My family split on this. My dad thinks the little turd deserved it, while my siblings have mixed opinions. My mother has told me she's staying out of this, but if I feel the need to apologize, do it and move on. What do you people think? Edit. A little info. We've talked to Diana about this before. My parents sat her down and told her they will not watch Darius because of how he behaved, and that she needs to do something else. We've all had talks with her about him bullying his cousins. She has done nothing. Not the a-hole in my opinion. He's still young enough to change if he wants to. If everyone keeps the truth from him, he'll try going through life being an awful human, and will get some seriously rude awakenings from people who aren't family. People are more likely to change if you point out that their behavior makes it hard to be around them. If you say everyone in your family hates you, they're more likely to have unfortunate outcomes that are not changing that behavior. I might be just as cruel for this, not the a-hole. He's gonna have to learn one way or another and his mother isn't doing anything. Maybe the reality check will help? I doubt it. He's probably too far gone at this point. Don't bother watching him again. The mother got herself into this mess. She should get herself out. You are 25 years old. He is 10. Is he behaving like a jerk because your sister has no idea how to parent? Yes. Should you enforce boundaries with your nephew when he is in your care? Absolutely. But that's not what you did. You bullied a child. Your behavior is awful and everyone in the family despises when you act this way. It makes it hard to be around you. It means that you are left out. It's very, very different than everyone in the family despises you. You can change your behavior. Telling someone how their behavior impacts how others feel can be a great catalyst for change. Telling someone, especially a literal child, that they themselves are hated by their family is demoralizing, demeaning, cruel, and generally does nothing to encourage change. Clearly, you are an emergency babysitter, and you are still very young and likely not trained to deal with a problem child in a calm manner, but this was out of line and harmful. You need to speak to your sister. Apologize to your nephew if you can, and then explain what you meant to address was his behavior, not him. Because there are plenty of studies that show that kids who feel that they're unloved do not improve, and there are a lot of horrific outcomes to that. Everyone sucks here, yes, but bullying a child, you're the a-hole. Telling someone the hard truth is not bullying. My God, I was bullied constantly as a kid, and even I realized that it could have been much worse. How peaceful was your childhood that you think someone being honest, even if it's mean, is bullying? Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my child to give up her room? My fiancé and I are moving in together. We decided that she should be the one to move in with us, since my home is bigger and in a better area. I have a 14-year-old daughter and she has 2 daughters who are 14 and 16. I live in a 2-bedroom home. A few years ago, I finished the basement and added a bathroom to it and gave it to my daughter. The other room is my office that I was planning to turn into a bedroom for my fiancé's daughters. It's a small room, but it's nice, and it can fit 2 beds, especially if we add a bunk bed instead of 2 twin beds. And it doesn't have a bathroom, but we don't live in a palace, so it is not that far away from the bathroom. My fiancé and I have been talking about the room situation and we don't seem to be able to agree on anything. She thinks I'm an a-hole for planning to let my daughter have the entire basement for herself and force hers to share a small room. I think this has been my daughter's room for years. She decorated it with her mom and therefore she shouldn't have to give it up. Obviously her family's on her side and my family's on my side, so we want other opinions as well. Halt. Hard stop and do not go farther with this relationship. We know you will, of course, because you don't see that this is the beginning of a lifelong problem. The only way for this relationship to survive is to move into a different house with equivalent bedrooms for the kids. What would that be? Not sure, but I know it isn't your current setup. You are in a completely no-win situation and you will be the a-hole either to your daughter or your fiancé and her children. Yeah, I just want to weigh in as someone whose parent did this. Moved into a 3-bedroom house with 3 kids. I haven't spoken to them in months, and I don't see them in holidays. It caused a lot of resentment. You're the a-hole for moving 5 people into a 2-bedroom home with a basement. I read a comment where you said this house is suitable for you all. No, it's not. The fact you're even having this argument with your significant other proves it's not suitable for you all. This was your daughter's home first. Making her share or give up her basement room will cause her to resent all of you, and would be vastly unfair to displace her in her own home. However, squeezing 2 teenage girls into a tiny room is also an a-hole move. Your home is not suitable at all. Although question, is your bedroom bigger than the smaller room? If so, give up your room to the incoming 2 teenagers and you and your significant other share the smaller room. If not, get a bigger home. Maybe they can't afford a bigger home at the moment. Pockets aren't endlessly deep. I do agree this needed more planning and forethought from OP. This is a no-win a-hole situation here for him. But shoulda, woulda, coulda right now isn't going to fix his situation, especially if moving isn't an option right now. Swapping his and his partner's room to give his stepdaughters a bigger space might be the only good compromise right now, but will still cause tension. Maybe doing that and calling a family meeting and planning for the move and laying it all out on the table is best, though a soft you're the a-hole for the poor planning is fair. Coming from a smaller home myself and never moving, I understand having to make the best of a lame duck. Then they can't afford to move in together. I was fully not the a-hole until I started reading your comments. You have already made up your mind. You don't think your daughter should give up her room. Fair enough. But you also don't want to come up with another plan. I think you should give up the master bedroom and give that room to the 2 girls to share. And you take the small bedroom. Or move somewhere else. It's not fair to take what was your daughter's and just give it to her step-siblings. But it's also not okay to not at least try to make it even for them. I think they need to call up the whole thing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I won't go anywhere with him if his wife is there? My 38 female parents got divorced about 14 years ago after my father had been having an affair with his current wife Brenda for 5 years. Not only this, but he was absolutely horrible to my mom in the process and really screwed her over. I was angry with him and went no contact with him for 4 years after. My grandfather on my dad's side before he passed away told me to try and make amends with my father. As I loved him very much, I agreed to try. I slowly tried to build a relationship back with him and things have been okay, but strained because trusting him has been hard. I also don't like Brenda. I did try, but we have nothing in common. She's a very gossipy person who talks trash about so many people, and I'm more interested in world events and science and psychology. I lived nearby until about 3 years ago and made an effort to see them once a month. I have now moved a 4-hour drive away and can only get up once or twice a year to visit. On one visit a couple years back, Brenda started talking about my half-sister from my mom, saying if she had raised her, sister wouldn't have had all the problems she did, and that my mom was wrong in how she managed her mental illness. Without going into as much detail, my sister has BPD and was very hard to manage in her childhood, and after years of trying to get her help and her running away, my mom agreed to let her go live with other family as she asked. It was either that or she was going to live in a group home most likely. I snapped at Brenda, saying she wasn't there and she has no idea what she was talking about. I was young, but I remember all the pain my family was going through and how hard it was for Mom to let her go. Since then, every time we have gone out together, Brenda refused to talk to me. She won't respond if I say hello, she stares at her phone, and talks to my dad as if I'm not there. I ask him to say something about it because it's rude and uncomfortable, and he just says he can't tell her what to do and we need to work it out. I told him if that's the case, I will only visit with him and not if she's around. He says I'm being dramatic, and if Brenda isn't invited, he won't come either. I told him if he won't leave her behind, then he won't be seeing me anymore either. I love him, but I'm not going to let her disrespect me anymore. He's making me feel like I'm being an a-hole because I want to see him, but I don't want to let her treat me this way. Editing to add, for those asking why Dad doesn't come visit me, I live on my mom's property and would never even consider having him here, let alone Brenda. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Don't let people into your life that treat you poorly, family or not. Looks like it is time for Opie to go back to no contact with Dad and his wife. Not the a-hole. OMG. So Brenda behaves in a horrible way towards you, but your dad can't be bothered to do the right thing and see you without her? You don't need that level of BS in your life. You're not the a-hole. Your dad and Brenda are massive ones though. I mean, the dad carried on a 5-year-long affair on his wife. It wasn't really a debate if he was an a-hole. Not the a-hole. How dare Brenda talk? Who does she think she is? Your father seems to have made his choice. It's time for you to choose. I don't understand how he can choose Brenda over you, his own child. I just want her to be more respectful to me, and even if it's just small talk, to not pretend I'm not there. He said I'm just acting like a victim, and I said no, I'm just not going to be here. Dude, you are a victim of a father who chose his lust over his family and who does it again now. You have a right to act like that. Last story. Am I the a-hole for banning my girlfriend from bringing my friend's ex over to my house? Recently, a friend of mine, Anthony, and his wife, Carly, went through a pretty nasty divorce. They had a child together about 1.5+ years ago, and things just weren't working between them. There were some issues with attraction. He felt it was getting monotonous. He was interested in pursuing other relationships and ending up finding a spark with a then coworker who's now his girlfriend, and the whole thing was just a mess. She did end up getting child support and alimony, but there were issues with how his family structures their trust, which meant she left a lot on the table. Still, even now, it's not like she's actually below the poverty line or anything, so it's whatever. I didn't think we would be seeing much more of her, since she's my friend's wife who we weren't particularly close with, and there's no real reason why we would need to have any more contact than him, given that she was his wife. However, my girlfriend has been getting together and commiserating with her for some reason, and now their conflict, which I have deliberately kept away from, is now bleeding into my life too. My girlfriend keeps bringing up how unfair what my friend did was, how he's barely paying anything while they struggle, etc., despite me saying that it's none of our business repeatedly. She's constantly passive-aggressive towards Anthony, even though he hasn't done anything to her. She's even brought Carly over while me and Anthony were hanging out, saying she's her friend, and she's allowed to have guests. As you can guess, this has led to some heated arguments. She's glad to know he's having fun eating edibles and playing video games with children. Yes, she even referred to me and our other friend as children to our face. We're both 22, while Carly's exhausted taking care of their child alone, etc. Now, keep in mind, this is my house. My parents gifted me this condo when I graduated, and I pay all the utility bills. I'm letting my girlfriend stay here because her roommate didn't want to renew the lease. She's trying to frame this like I'm not letting her see her friends, which is absurd. She's clearly 100% in the wrong here, right? Am I the a-hole, or is she for trying to bring this woman into our home? So, your friend dumped his wife when life got monotonous after the birth of his child. He fought hard to make sure that she and his child got the minimum of what he had to pay them. Your girlfriend thought this stunk and isn't afraid to say so, while you go hang out with your bro. You're the a-hole. Find better friends, and learn about how to stand up for what's right from your girlfriend. Gentle you're the a-hole to girlfriend because she shouldn't bring ex over while a-hole is actually there. That is not always a safe move. He lasted a whole 1.5 months after his child was born. My friend is a cheater and my girlfriend knows it and is upset I keep that type of company. There, I fixed the title for you. You're the a-hole. So, you're on the side of the guy who got bored with his wife and left her to date a coworker after she had a baby? And you think you get to decide who your live-in girlfriend is friends with and invites over? How would you react if she told you to not invite Anthony over because she's really uncomfortable to see you supporting someone with that view for relationships? I mean, I'd be unhappy if my husband was pro dump your wife and newborn for a new side piece. So why should you expect her to be okay with your questionable friendship? In other words, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. My house that my parents bought me. Also, your friend thought having a wife/child was monotonous, so he cheated with a coworker. He now pays limited child support while she struggles to raise the child. If I were your girlfriend, I would be very aware of what you consider none of your business. Also, that you don't consider it odd that he can come over anytime and it's whatever, but you can't have her friend over. If it's truly none of your business and you're not taking sides, either should be fully welcome. Update. My best friend's fiance groped me at a party and now I think our friendship is over. Original post. Probably not the first time someone asked this, but my female 30 best friend's female 30 fiance male 26 touched me. I slapped him hard twice before he stopped. He was like, okay, fine, and left the kitchen. The friend female 31 that held the party witnessed it. We don't know how to go from there. Knowing her, she is probably not gonna leave him, and maybe cut us off instead. She has an 11-month-old daughter with this douche. I had a very low-cut and backless dress. I needed to mention this because I feel immense guilt. I know my dress was commented on a lot that night. I can't help but wonder if I brought this on myself. What I need is simple. Should I or should I not tell her? If I tell her, this may end our 25-year-long friendship because she is head over heels in love with him. But how can I let it go? Edit. Thank you very much for the support. My best friend knows I never liked her fiancé, so I was afraid she would think I just want to end the relationship. I didn't see my friend, the host, coming in the kitchen. He thought we were alone. I think he stopped because of that rather than me hitting him, because he kept saying, "Ow, that's adorable," when I slapped him. So my friend, the host, called me and told me that my best friend has messaged her on IG, asking if something has happened between me and her fiancé at a party. She told her what happened, and my best friend hasn't answered her yet. Should I talk to her or let her contact me herself? The host reckons I should wait and see what her reaction to her fiancé touching her best friend is. I can't report him. He was drunk, and I was drinking and have no way of proving that I wasn't drunk. You know how these things are important in such cases. Scanty dress and alcohol, etc. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. What kind of friend is she if she ditches you after you tell her you were harassed/violated? Not any friend I'd want to have around. If this friend came to you and told you that your boyfriend touched her, would you ditch her? Would you stick with that guy? Probably not. Your dress does not have anything to do with what happened. A disgusting man is the reason this happened. The only reason. This is illegal behavior if you're in the US. You have a witness. You could charge him if you wanted to. I'd tell your friend, because what if he gets handsy again? He doesn't have any consequences. If the friend does cut you off, then that's a blessing in disguise. You don't need to be around people like that. A mutual friend tried to violate me. I told my friends and they stuck with him. 3 years later, I'm doing amazing. It sucked at first to lose a decade-long friendship, but now I'm surrounded by people that would be supportive no matter what. Please do not feel this guilt. A gross, disgusting man did something horrible. This is not your fault. We thought about charging him, but I don't know how serious they would take it. You did not bring anything on yourself. He shouldn't have even touched you, much less after you said to stop. Tell her this happened, and if she doesn't believe you or cuts you out, it's probably better she's not in your life as well as him. Probably should have mentioned this in the post. She doesn't have a job, so it won't be easy to break up with a baby and no job. If she doesn't break up, she will live with him with this knowledge. I know it's awful, but that sucks for her. He literally violated you. Offer her support if she chooses to break up with him, but don't sacrifice your safety for her comfort. I would gladly let her stay with me until she gets her life together. I don't think she would like to trade down her fancy apartment in the city, though. And now for the first update. I'll just dive right into the update. Many things have happened, but I'm unfortunately not any wiser for it. I usually have Wednesdays off and I like to have a lie-in till lunchtime. Today, however, I woke up to the door and phone ringing at 8:30. It was my best friend, so I buzzed her in. She turned up with him and the baby girl. They were both all smiles. I let them in and went to the bathroom. I took a shower. I have been getting angry red rash on my body since it happened, and a cold shower usually calm it down. When I got out, I found them in the kitchen making coffee. They had brought croissants with them. I just stood there waiting for them to talk, but my best friend just handed me the baby and started a small chat about the weather and how the baby girl hasn't been sleeping well, etc. I didn't comment on anything, so she just looked at me and started crying. She told me that the douche and I were the people she trusted the most, and that it's tearing her apart seeing that we don't get along. She always felt like she had to choose between the two of us, and that she refused to do it anymore and needed us to at least be civil to each other. He was patting her on the back. I said, "That ship has sailed, don't you think?" So she turned angrily to him and asked him to do what he had came here for. So he started apologizing and saying that he was very drunk and didn't remember a lot, but that is very remorseful. I wasn't looking at him, and when I finished, I asked her if she knew what he did. He interrupted her and said, "Yes, we have already discussed this." I told her that I will speak to her later, and they left. But before they went, she hugged me and said she's sorry. I went back to bed. When I woke up, I was still so angry. How could she just bring him unannounced to my place and demand that I forgave him on the spot? So I texted her that I did not appreciate her bringing him into my home when he, not 3 days ago, violated me. She said I was exaggerating. I asked her if she would think it was okay that someone pinched her like that, and laughed when she couldn't fend him off. I could show him his nail marking. She told me didn't remember any of it. I texted her that I'm planning to report him to the police. She called me immediately and was shaking with anger. How could I do something like this to her and her baby? Why am I being so selfish? I asked how she is terrified of him when she knows what he's capable of. That the reason he hurt me was because I didn't like him, and it bothered him. She started crying, then she ended with, "How will you prove that it wasn't you who came on to him? There's always two sides of a story, and the police will want to hear both." I hang up. She called a few times more, but I didn't answer. She texted now that she loved me, but that I must think of her before doing anything stupid that can ruin her life and our relationship. So that's that. I am probably going to lose her, and no matter how easy many of you think it is to do the right thing, I feel like I'm the biggest POS right now. Never answer her calls again. She's a piece of trash. But first text her, "It really hurts and scares me that you would lie to the police to protect someone that did that to me. You know, name violated me. He admitted it. And you're still willing to lie to the police to protect him? Why would you do that?" If her response doesn't directly refute that the dude did that to you, then you have the evidence you need to, hopefully, ensure her lie won't be taken seriously. If she tries to lie, the officers will even let her know that doing so could result in legal action against her as well. This will also be useful if they start spreading false information to mutual friends. If the friendship is doomed, you might as well do whatever is needed to protect yourself. You report him, you use the host as your witness, and go from there. Screw your friend if she isn't pissed as hell about what he did. I just knew it in my heart that she would be this way. Why do you say you knew this? I'm genuinely curious whether this feeling of yours comes from some past behaviors, or is it about her relationship with this douche, and the fact they have a daughter together. I know how she thinks, and she always ditched her friends for tall, handsome men. He is a bully and doesn't treat her well, and I have told her that multiple times, and she always defended him. I thought this time won't be any different, even if it's much more serious. I'm so sorry this happened to you. What a disgusting violation, and what a trash friend to protect her prat of a boyfriend. None of it is your fault. You are not being selfish. You did not ruin anyone's life or relationship. Take pictures of the nail marks and compile any text messages, / proof you might have. The fact that your friend is throwing doubt on you makes me believe they'll do whatever they need to maintain that he's not guilty of what he did. Cover your behind, keep your head up, you'll get through this. I did that. It was the friend's idea. I would have never think of it otherwise. I even have bruising on my wrist. It got darker the next day. I took a picture of it as well. My friend glanced a couple of times at it. Turned out she probably knew what he did that same night, because my friend's husband kicked the douche out not long after I left. She had to leave the party early. She must have asked him why they were being kicked out. Didn't try to talk to me until she showed up today. I am so angry and disappointed. Now for more update. Hi again. We have just had a group call with me, the witness, and her to try and find out what's really going on in her relationship. We started with telling her that she could trust us, and we would do anything to protect her. I know that. We asked her if he ever hurt her or her baby. No, never. If he had forced himself on her. No. She told us they rarely had intimacy, and that she almost always was the initiator. But this is going to be disgusting, I'm sorry. When they got back from the party, they did it twice, and he was rough. She'll like it that way. And they have been doing it every day this week. But she's a bit off because she's afraid he's fantasizing about me and not her. I just sat there in shock. The witness asked her, "Do you understand that if I wasn't there, he would have forced himself on her? Is that the fantasy that put you off?" She was silent for a moment, and then said, "Nah, he's not like that." I asked her if she believed me. "Of course I do. I know it touched you and it was wrong, but he told me you kinda moaned, so he thought you were into it." Then he saw the witness and was embarrassed and left. I started yelling at her and told her that Mitch didn't believe me at all. But she meant she believed me, but she also believed he misread the signs. So the witness asked her if she was going to cover up for him if we pressed charges. She said no, but he had told her he would never forget it if I did, whatever the outcome is. So now we know how he's going to manipulate the situation. Now for the last story. My 32 female soon-to-be ex-husband, 35 male, is dating my brother's 30 male ex-girlfriend, 23 female. I want to ask him to please not bring her around our daughter again. I know this is a pretty complicated situation, so I'll try to explain as clearly as possible. I'm 32 female. I was married to a man who is 35 male for 5 years, dating for 2 before that. Earlier this year, he asked for a divorce. It was completely out of the blue. He was incredibly cold and disconnected when he asked for it, which led me to believe he was planning this for a while. He moved out within the week. Our 4-year-old daughter and I stayed in the house. Recently, my daughter's daycare had a Halloween fundraiser. My husband and I both attended separately, as well as some of our families, including my brother, 30 male. When my brother was younger, he dated a young woman for a short amount of time. Our family was very against the relationship. She was much younger than him. No laws were broken, but she was very young. It didn't last very long, and he broke up with her to date his now wife, 30 female, who is a lovely woman, and a close friend of mine. Once my brother met her, his entire life turned around. They have a beautiful family, and they're all very happy. I was incredibly shocked when my husband showed up to my daughter's daycare with this girl, who is now 23, as his date. I think it was incredibly disrespectful of him to bring a new girlfriend to our daughter's daycare without any prior discussion. I think the entire relationship is inappropriate. Obviously, I'm not happy seeing him date anyone, but the fact that he's dating her is disgusting, especially since she has a prior history with the family. I don't have any contact with him aside from coordinating pickup and drop-off times, but I did pull him aside at the fundraiser and tell him I thought it was inappropriate. He didn't have much of an answer. He pretty much just brushed me off. I haven't spoken to him since, but he has visitation of our daughter this weekend. Is it inappropriate for me to ask him not to bring her around our daughter again? I really am not comfortable with it at all. To answer everyone's question, yes. My husband met her when she was dating my brother, which is when she was 16. Edits. I'm not asking if I have a legal right to ask him not to bring her around. I'm asking if it is an unreasonable thing to ask of him. I absolutely do not think she should never be around my daughter. I think that the relationship should become more serious before she's around her, so my daughter does not get attached to someone who is just going to disappear from her life. I would also appreciate if my soon-to-be ex would consult me before bringing new people into my daughter's life, since I would do the same to him. We have a custody arrangement. I have primary custody, as well as sole legal custody. P.S. visitation. Now for the top advice before the little update. My dad had girlfriend after girlfriend until I met my amazing stepmom. I knew she was amazing because he waited to introduce us until he was moving in. This led me to accepting her easily. Plus, she gave me an awesome older brother to video game with. Oh, and another brother and 2 sisters. My mom ripped my father to shreds when I was around 5, however, because I became attached to one of his girlfriends and was upset about it. After that, he didn't introduce me to his girlfriends unless he had been seeing them for at least a few months or so, which only happened twice. My stepmom and his baby mama, minus the one who had kids, but that was slightly unrelated. I only knew he was seeing someone if my grandma happened to mention it. My dad was young, dumb, and a party animal. I'm grateful for all the fun we had growing up together on weekends, video gaming, parties, and shindigs. But I appreciate my mom standing in for me about the girlfriend situation. This prevented a lot of potential heartache. If I wasn't broke, I'd give you an award for this. because this shows a child's perspective of what is happening to OP, and she fully grasps this. Glad you chimed in. You can ask, but someone who will dangle the new girlfriend in front of their ex at daycare is likely to take zero notice. You don't do something like this, unless the aim is to signal to your ex, as normal people would discuss it first. As you didn't indicate your ex's very low intelligence, I expect it was intentional. Do you two share custody? No, we do not. You can include it in legal custody if you go for it. As a primary parent, you can dictate who is around your child when with the other parent. Why don't you talk to him and make an agreement that neither of you would introduce your daughter to a partner unless the relationship is serious? It has been so for a certain number of months. That sounds very reasonable for both of you. This is probably the route I'm going to go. How'd your brother's relationship end? I'd be worried about ulterior motives or revenge. With her, it ended badly. The relationship between him and her, and him and his current wife, did have a bit of an overlap. That makes your brother more of an a-hole than her. Not gonna lie, OP, I feel this is an incredibly one-sided story. I feel if the young new girlfriend was on here, she would have a very different story to yours. My brother was absolutely the a-hole here. I think his actions were mortifying, and I'm sure she would agree as well. Damn, no shortage of trash-tier men in your life. Tell me about it. Update. Thank you very much to the kind people reaching out to me. It has come to my attention that due to the fact that I have sole legal and physical custody of my daughter, I can in fact make it a stipulation that he doesn't bring intimate partners around her while she is in his care. According to my attorney, it's very common. Thank you all. I have spoken to both my attorney and my soon-to-be ex-husband about adding the stipulation into the visitation agreement. He was agreeable to it as long as it worked both ways, so for me as well, which I was of course agreeable to. Thank you to everyone for your advice and various viewpoints.